Dogs in the yard, might need a guard. Every loss, taking to heart. Me first, that cannot be. Must be these underdog episodes, see? Feeling much better, so suddenly. Under the Monica G. Crafted at night while all of them sleep. I won't look a fool, taking this tool. Defeating the opposition around me. No, I'm not sorry. Yes, I'm taking this knowledge and pride. Just barking no harm, don't be startled. Yes, I'm taking the title, and it's a vital. Thanks for the ride, I'll never be idle. Turn up the dial, it's about to get wild. And the points gon' pile up.
Dynasty Underdog bite down, up at the day and the night. Now, easy as flying a kite. Now, come take a look at it right now. Dynasty Underdog bite down, up at the day and the night. Now, easy as flying a kite. Now, come take a look at it right now.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 169 of Dynasty Underdog. I'm your host, Uriah Dawkins. Joining me tonight. Welcome back, Billy Beeman, and our boy Jake Abrams. How's it going, guys?
Good. It's great, man. Happy to be back. Excited to be back. You guys held it down like we were talking about, before we got started here. But yeah, man, excited to be on with Jake too. Like it's cool. We were talking. We haven't been on all together before, so this is a great episode.
Yes. Feels like a full crowd. I'm ready to be here. Super excited.
Right on. Well, let's hop into some news and nonsense as we do. So I think probably the biggest news out of the week was Kirk Cousins left the game towards the end of the game too, by the way, and he has an Achilles injury. So hopefully he goes and spends some time with Aaron Rodgers, hits the ayahuasca, does the damn thing, goes to his little dark space, and maybe he could be out there in 8 weeks walking around all normal and shit. But RIP Cousins, who was having a really, really good year. I mean, I was going through console wars and some other leagues that I have, and a lot of the top ranked teams were a lot of Cousins teams. Mm-hmm. So let's not diminish what he's done this year, but yeah, he's out for the season.
I think that also, a factor involved in that is that Cousins was kind of a cheap dynasty asset. So the rest of their roster is probably pretty solid, right? Like that's probably part of why you see a lot of those top ranked teams have Kirk Cousins. Also, he was having a great year. As you said, it was definitely a prolific year. So it's really tough for Jordan Addison, all the weapons that any weapon, even KJ Osborne, it's just going to be tough. They did sneak Josh Dobbs away from Arizona. So it should be interesting to see if he can kind of keep somewhat pace, with guys like TJ Hawkinson, at least maybe Addison. I don't know. How do you feel about the situation post Kirk Cousins, Jake?
Pretty scared, honestly. I'm a pretty conservative dynasty fantasy football player, so I feel like everywhere that I have any Minnesota Vikings player right now, I'm pretty terrified. As someone who owns JJ and Addison kind of all over the place, it's just one of those where if I'm competing, I'm like, oof. What am I going to do with JJ right now? I was waiting for him to come back in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, oh, all right. Do I trade him now? I don't know. Am I still competing with him? It's kind of tough. Where do you guys sit?
I don't know. I don't know. Because the thing is, we saw what Dobbs did in Arizona. And okay, maybe NFL wise, he wasn't getting wins for his team, and wins aren't necessarily a quarterback stat, but he was able to at least kind of produce or help produce a couple decent, solid fantasy producers. Marquise Brown wasn't dead. The running backs there, they weren't dead, even though they got hurt, and very serviceable. We saw Trey McBride, had a little breakout there. Even before that, Zach Ertz was doing stuff. So yeah, I mean, you got to think that maybe the coaching and just the overall front office there is probably a little bit better or more easy to get behind than what was going on in Arizona right now. So I think if Josh Dobbs could kind of do that in Arizona, why couldn't he possibly do that in Minnesota with better weapons?
Yeah, I think Uriah is kind of nailing it for me. Is the Cardinals are awful. Their O-line's pretty bad. And they do have some weapons, but he was dealing with a pretty depleted running back core with James Conner out, and he was making things happen with guys like Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown has been a great fantasy asset this whole time, right, all year long. So I think that we could see something like that from Justin Jefferson for sure if he were to come back. And clearly they make this move trying to stay competitive, right? They're not just tanking the season right now. So I think, all signs point to them continuing to try to win. They're they're a pretty decent team all around. So if they can keep their heads above water, I mean, Justin Jefferson is definitely a viable option, and this may give competing teams more reason to want to get out of Justin Jefferson, thinking that it just might go completely south. You know what I mean? So, if your team's tanking and you're shooting for kind of those high-end assets, that this might be the time to go after him.
The only other thing I wanted to add is thinking a little bit more about the scheme differentiation between Arizona to Minnesota is quite different. And it's going to be really interesting to see what Kevin O'Connell can really come up with in 10 days to figure out an offense that fits Josh Dobbs. But you can also take it the other direction too. He came into an offense, Josh Dobbs, in 5 days. He became a starter. 4 days after his trade from Cleveland. So the guy's obviously very intelligent. He's very adaptable. It's not that I'm necessarily against him. I just have overall concerns about, another change of scenery with a different type of offense and being able to adjust to that situation. So
I know we're staying on this point for a minute, but I'm trying to find it right now, what his degree is in, but I'm pretty sure Josh Dobbs is like a rocket scientist or something. Legitimately, I'm pretty sure that's what he has his degree in.
That's nuts.
And so I think he's like a really, really smart dude. I got to confirm that and find it. So it kind of makes sense that he's able to pick these things up if that is the case. I'm pretty sure I heard that and I logged that away in the back of my mind. But it is a good point that, it's going to be a different scheme, and it's not, a certainty that it's going to work out, but they're not throwing him in the fire. They're obviously playing their guy, Jaron Hall, this first week, and then they're going to, see what they can do with him. So I think they're at least giving him the best chance to succeed. Last thing to say on this, I mean, Jonathan Gannon is an absolute maniac, right? Like he comes out and he says, yeah, I watched the tape and decided that Josh Dobbs is not the starter any longer. And then he goes and trades him. And it's like, what a strange and immature send-off. Like it's, I don't know. It was just not fantasy relevant related, but just absurd. Like, what?
Yeah, I think maybe he was just like, yeah, because it was like 8 hours before that. He's like, yeah, Josh Dobbs starting this week. And then maybe he got like tickle in his ear that like, okay, maybe some other teams want to trade for him. Kirk Cousins went down. So then like he had to pivot real quick and was like, oh no, he's fucking trash. Like, yeah, we're ready to get rid of him. I don't know.
He panicked or something. I don't know what he did, but confirmed Josh Dobbs, aerospace engineering.
Excellent
degree at University of Tennessee. So pretty smart dude.
With Elon there. The other thing about this is, Clayton Tune season. Let's go.
Clayton Tune. Yeah, we might get a chance to see your guy Clayton Tune. I think, like I said this on Twitter, it's unethical to send him out there against the Cleveland Browns defensive line. Like they are going to tear Clayton Tune apart. I can't imagine it goes well for him. So I feel bad for the kid.
Isn't it more unethical to put Kyler out there though?
Oh, for sure. No, okay. I agree.
All right.
Yeah,
you're right.
So whoever they threw out there, it's unethical, basically.
Yeah.
All you got to do is pat him on the butt and say, "Hey, get out there, do a good job."
One due to injury, one due to it's his first start, and he's going to get absolutely demolished. So it's a little different.
Yeah.
Can't wait to watch
it. Just run the Wildcat the entire time. It's all good.
There you go.
All right,
room all day. So.
I guess the last of the news and nonsense really is Jimmy G benched. Jimmy G benched. Not only that, but Las Vegas, they cleaned house. They got rid of the coach and GM, which you love to see.
And offensive coordinator.
Oh, good. Fuck yeah. I love that. Because what happens a lot of times is like they'll fire a GM and they'll keep the coach, or they'll fire the coach and keep the GM, and like nothing actually changes. These guys are like, we're cleaning house. Y'all are all out. Let's go. And so Jimmy G benched. He just did. I don't know if he's benched because like he's bad, but I think he's still I don't think he's 100% healthy. I think he still hurts. Is exactly what's going on there. AOC is going to get the start there. We'll see what happens, but Devontae Adams, this could only be good. Like we talk about the squeaky wheel and all that other stuff. Like I think whoever's going to go in there and start going, they're going to want to. I mean, he's the star on the team, right? Besides on the defensive side, you have Max Crosby, but you want to feed Adams. And I think we're going to see it. I honestly, Adams is going to get 10 plus. I mean, he was getting like 10 plus targets either, but hopefully he's a little bit better.
Would you be buying as a contender? You sound like you'd be buying as a contender.
Adams?
Yeah.
Oh, God damn. Mouth in my mouth, foot in my mouth. Yeah, sure. Why not? If anybody is willing to get on him, which you probably should. Yeah. I just think that the rest of the season things should be better for him.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not
don't
buying
love what I saw from AOC in the one start that they gave him. So a little concerned there. I mean, maybe Devontae Adams can keep his head above water, but I think that, you know, like the Jacoby Myers love or somebody is going to take it. Honestly, Jacoby Myers might be the winner because the targets are going to be so short and he's just going to get fed. Devontae Adams, I mean, can AOC even get it there downfield for him? I don't know. He's more of a precision short area passer, so I'm concerned about the whole situation. I don't know what I would do with Devonta Adams if I still had any shares. I do have a share, and I'm probably just going to ride it out and hope for the best because I don't know if you can really get any fair value at this point right now for what his potential upside is if Uriah is right and he does get fed like that. You know, there is
he's
that
going to get like
still.
Chris Godwin numbers, you know, like 10 receptions, 60 yards.
God, I hate that. I mean, it'll do, but like it's not what you wanted.
Devonta Adams turns into Jarvis Landry.
I just vomited a little bit in my mouth.
I mean, honestly, though, this discussion is worth having because I do think that that's potentially what happens here. Would you take 224 seconds for Devonta Adams?
No.
Right. So you can't sell him. So it's, you know, I don't think anybody. I doubt you're getting much. I doubt you're getting a first, and if much more than that, if anybody's really like what person with a first, even if they're contending, is buying him right now, you know? So
yeah, that's a shitty situation.
All right. Sorry, I looked at that whole like dumpster fire that is the Raiders, and I just thought to myself, like, what do we do with this great asset? You know,
did you see them in the locker room with the mini basketball hoop? Did you see that Devonta Adams like fade shot? Oh my!
No,
they're happy now. They're happy now.
Hey, look, I mean, if they're happy, maybe they do start playing better. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Okay. Before we hop into kind of some of the what we've learned and what stood out, I wanted to jump into some data. I pulled up some elusive rating data this past week from PFF, which takes into account missed forced tackles, both rushing and receiving, and I think adjusts for like O-line play and some other stuff in there. I could grab the formula in a second here, but what I really wanted to look at, I grabbed the data from week 1 through 8 for the elusive rating, and I pulled out the missed forced tackles, receiving and rushing, and, you know, separated those because I wanted to see. I know that elusive rating and avoided tackle rate in general is like a really sticky stat year to year for running backs, and
absolutely, yep.
And I was wondering if we could kind of pick out some guys who stand out in all areas, whether they're just really good, maybe still undervalued, maybe really bad, and just maybe kind of middle of the pack. Just we weren't really thinking about, you know what I mean? So I wanted to hop into that real quick. So first thing that stood out to me, really, I mean, just starting at the top, Raheem Mostert, far and away the best with the stat, right? 122 elusive rating. The next closest is 98, which is pretty impressive. Now, Devon Achane, I was looking at him. I think I adjusted for the attempts here, and it filtered him out because he doesn't have enough attempts because of the injury. Yeah, I don't think so. So, but I know that he had a really high elusive rating as well, which makes sense, obviously. So I think that he would probably match near Raheem Mostert and be in that area. They just run a great scheme. Second on the list is Ken Walker. And I just, for some reason, I still feel like he might be undervalued. And on this list, what's kind of impressive about him is he is not just doing it on the ground, right? He's forcing missed tackles at a high rate, rushing for sure, but he's also doing it in the receiving game, which is not something we've typically thought of him as, seen him do. So he's done that at a pretty high clip, almost as high as anybody on this list. And one thing to note is what I did also want to point out was there's certain guys who really just force missed tackles in the rushing game, but there's guys who do it in both, right? And obviously Ken Walker is one of those guys. I'm talking about him, but I calculated the percentage of it, and it's pretty interesting. You see that some of the really, really, really great backs are over that like 25% mark in terms of missed forced tackles from the receiving, in terms of, I guess, receiving percentage from missed forced tackles. So, you know, you're seeing that from Raheem Mostert, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, Bijan should be there, but he's not. Jahmyr Gibbs, right? You're seeing it. wow, I'm surprised Christian McCaffrey's not doing it, but they just use him so much in the rushing game. Travis Etienne. So that's just one piece that I've kind of picked out from looking at this that I might want to hone in on going forward is anybody. Here's one I'll say, Rachaad White, right, is a guy who I'm not high on, but is pretty interesting in this stat, right? He has 17 missed tackles forced rushing and 15 in the receiving game, 88.24% in terms of the receiving percentage there. Thought it was really interesting because I'm not really high on him, but I think he's like really good in the receiving game. I don't think he's as great of a rusher, but it just might keep him relevant is kind of what I'm thinking. So he just might be a better dynasty asset than I'm thinking of. I don't know. Anybody on this list stand out to you guys?
Yes. The Rachaad White one is good just because, like, Uriah Dawkins, huge film guy. Watching Rachaad White, like, it's pretty bad rushing the ball, just straight rushing the ball. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter left side, right side, in between the tackles. Like, he's not very good. But every time he gets the ball and he has like 6-7 yards of like space, dude looks electric. Like, he looks like Alvin Kamara rookie season. Like, he looks very, very good with the ball in his hands. So if the offensive coordinator there could get him in the game and get the ball in his hands, open in space, like, I think I'll come around on him a little bit more than I have been. And then the one that really stood out to me is the guy last on this list is something that we got to talk about. Mm-hmm. we just have to. Is Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is a guy that I think a lot of us were hoping, hey, once Zeke's gone, we got to give Pollard more opportunities to do stuff, but we'll take him at the end of the first and second and redrafter and startups. And I hate to say it because he's my boy and he plays for my team, but he's just been an absolute disappointment. Now his opportunities are through the roof. If that efficiency in some sort of way could get better for him, the opportunity is insane, but he's just not the same guy without a guy like Zeke or somebody else just being the thunder to his lightning. I don't think that Tony Pollard is capable of being thunder and lightning. And it kind of shows after 8 weeks right now. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah, Tony Pollard's interesting because he was actually like 7th, I think, on this list, or maybe second. I forgot what it was. I said it in the Discord a couple days ago, and I was looking at it last year. He was very high on this list. Yes. And it, I have this on the sheet to talk about. We can talk about it here a little bit, but that archetype of running back who's a little bit smaller, not the typical workhorse, a guy who wasn't a standout at a young age, right? Who's a little bit older of a guy. We know all these things about him that, late breakout at running back's not really a thing. Like, it doesn't really work that way. His coaches talked about not wanting to give him a workhorse type workload because they didn't think he could hold up and could produce at the same rate, right? And I think, you're seeing that come to fruition this year. So I just think that it's kind of a cautionary tale of some of these running backs who, it's not just the size. That's not obviously that's not what it is. We see guys who smaller frames perform really well, but I think it's more that those guys typically aren't workhorses, and they typically don't break out late. They're usually break out at a young age and sustain that success. Now, I just don't think Tony Pollard really fit that mold, and he benefited a lot from playing alongside Ezekiel Elliott and in those schemes, right? So yeah, that's a tough one. When you look at the sheet, it really stands out. I mean, 20.9 elusive rating, like, just absolutely awful. So yeah, he's one who stands out on the downside of things. And I think Ramondre Stevenson, another one who is worth mentioning, who was really highly touted this offseason, 33.5 elusive rating. I mean, he's really just not forcing the missed tackles like he was the year prior. The good news is he's actually getting the work done in the receiving game. They're still using him at a pretty high rate in that regard, but he's just not producing at the same level, and he's not the same player. And it may be the scheme, the team's terrible, so the line's terrible. There's a lot that goes along with it, but he's been pretty bad this year. I also think it's worth mentioning Alvin Kamara is second to last on this list at 26.8. He's absolutely being buoyed by just Derek Carr not being able to pass the ball downfield or not be able
Jake
to not. I mean, I do too as a Kamara manager, but I do think that it's really concerning that he's bottom of the list here. But it is telling that 114.29% of his missed forced tackles are coming on the receiving side of things. So, I mean, that's a good thing. Anybody on this list, like, you can see you want them to be forcing as many missed tackles as possible, close to 50% from the receiving game, just because that means they're being utilized that way. It's, you know, and that they're that good at, you know, making people miss and that yards after contact and all that stuff. Just to finish off this conversation real quick, I mean, Javonte Williams really stands out in this metric. He's at 49.7 on the elusive rating, 17 missed tackles forced on the ground, just 2 in the air. But clearly he still has that juice, and he's just getting back. I'm not a big Javonte guy, but, you know, I'm willing to come around him a little bit. Kyron Williams on this list, 20 missed forced tackles on the ground, just 2 in the air, which is kind of surprising. 62.7 elusive rating, sneaky little guy there. And then 2 guys who I'm kind of concerned about who are up here, Isaiah Pacheco and Jerome Ford, just because they don't really do much in the receiving game. And I guess we've always known this about Isaiah Pacheco and Jerome Ford, but they're pretty high on this list. 65.6 elusive rating, 70.5. I mean, they're probably around 10th on this list. Yeah, they're 9th and 10th on this list in terms of elusive rating. So they're making people miss at a fairly high rate. So they're good players, but I don't know if they have the upside really, and that's kind of what I'm seeing here. But I think they can be pretty productive going forward in their careers, right? Like, I think they're gonna earn work.
Yeah.
All right. I think these stats are fun to look at, worth looking at. I think you can find some interesting nuggets from digging into these kind of things. I mean, just looking at it, it's so funny. Bijan Robinson, like, I'll finish off with this. I just think it's interesting. Bijan Robinson, he has a 90 elusive rating. He's like 3rd on the list. I'm sorry, not 90. He has 85.4 elusive rating, but he's just not being utilized. Like, you can see he's not being utilized correct, like, enough is really what it feels like. He should be getting more passing work. He should be getting more work in general because he's making so many people miss, but it's just the work's not there. It's crazy. He's so good, but he's just not getting the workload. But, you know, maybe that's just us fantasy managers being greedy because the way that he's being utilized, maybe it does increase his longevity.
Yeah, maybe
you know what I mean? Maybe
the NFL team, right?
Maybe it does. Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Jake, before we move on?
No, the only guy that really stood out to me that was just super peculiar because there's just so much, I guess, negative talk around him and his production, and which is why I almost kind of wish this was broken out in terms of like scaling per week, if that makes sense. Would be like Najee Harris. There's just something about his elusive rating being up at number 5 overall. He's 78.5. He actually has a decent missed tackle per reception, of course, per reception percentage at almost 37%. Like, he's just unique. And I really do believe that the lack of Jalen Warren usage at the beginning of this season hurt him. And I really do think that this is actually tailing to more modern time of his production being relatively up with his elusive rating, which is almost why I almost wish there was kind of like this breakdown of like a week by week scale. But it's super interesting to see someone like him that I think a lot of the Dynasty community is out on and still be producing at a high level at the elusive rating portion, but not really producing at like a high PPG or, any of the more, I guess, outward spoken metrics that people are really just looking at rather than some of the deeper metrics.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. I mean, we've seen runs from him and, just running through dudes and you're like, where's that Najee the whole time? And then he goes away for 3 quarters and then, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm glad that
tonight.
Yeah, that's what AJ is saying here. Najee TD makes me feel things, which I dig. We might just, the hated might have gone too far. Like, Matt Canada has clearly had trouble running this offense from the booth upstairs. So he went to the sideline this week to see if he can, affect things from there. It's really interesting seeing Najee there because we know that he's a better than average back. Like we really like. I know everybody wants to say that he's a bad running back. Like it's a very fun and in thing to say. Like on podcasts, Paul Patterson loves to say it, but I do think that he is a quality running back, and the deeper stats show that. Now that might not translate always to fantasy points, but I think that the reasons might be more team related than player related there.
Yeah, before we move on, shout out to Paul who traded 2 firsts for Cam Akers. All right, so what did we learn and what stood out? Sorry, I can't help myself.
Just if anybody wanted any confidence in his Najee takes, 2 firsts for Cam Akers, just so you know.
Love Paul though, great guy. So
he is a great guy.
What did we learn? What stood out? So Arizona red zone targets. We talked about this, Jake and I, a few weeks ago. I might have been like week 2, week 3 or something. We're looking at Zach Ertz was like leading the league in red zone targets, and that didn't really change so much. As I think as far as a team, Arizona is opting to throw the ball in the red zone more than they are running the ball at a league high pace. And without Zach Ertz, it's not necessarily that Trey McBride took all of Zach Ertz's targets, but it kind of funneled that way. And what we did see last week was a huge breakout from Trey McBride. He cashes in. And does this change when Josh Dobbs is gone? I don't know. Is it a scheme thing, quarterback thing or not? But it was very real, and we got to see that with Trey McBride having a pretty good breakout game.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is just another example of what we know, analyzing this stuff and just being in the community for a while. Like it takes a while for tight ends to break out. It just does generally. I mean, you got to give them usually a 3-year grace period, right? So when we're thinking about guys like Michael Mayer, I like to think to like recent examples of like this, like McBride, who took a year or so for him to get out from behind Ertz. And, we don't have the same level of talent, but get out from behind Austin Hooper. It took him, half the year to get there. And now he's starting to kind of produce a little bit more. And more, I think we're seeing tight ends in general produce in their first year at a higher rate. But just the McBride situation just made me think back to like, I'm sure you could have got McBride before this year for like a 3rd round pick or something. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, if they weren't Uriah, who is like his biggest fan coming out of Colorado State.
CSU.
Right. It's Colorado State, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Like, you probably were already just tired of it. Like he's not going to be a guy. Arizona Cardinals suck. Kyler Murray's out of there. Trey McBride's done. But this is just, I think, an example of how that can turn around real fast. So I love that. Like guys like Michael Mayer, these are the kind of things I talk about all the time where, people always tell me that it doesn't actually happen in practice, but it does happen in practice. You can get Michael Mayer for less than a first. You could do it for sure a couple weeks ago, and that's cheaper than you were getting him in rookie draft. So just another example of that. Love what we're seeing from Trey McBride. He looks the part for sure. Let's talk about him a little bit in terms of dynasty values. Jake did a lot of work here for us, put together some players in terms of like DTC rankings, KTC rankings, so we could, talk a little bit more in depth as far as dynasty values go. Couple he has here. I think I want to start with Jake Ferguson, because I do think Jake Ferguson looks pretty good year 1, or this is year 1, right? He looks good this year. Year 2. He looks good this year. And, the targets there, touchdown, just had that this week. So I don't know. How do you feel, McBride or Ferguson?
Ferguson, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you still got to go with Ferguson. I do.
Dallas, hometown hero. You can't go with your boy McBride right now, can you?
For now, the thing is, Ferguson was still like a 3rd or 4th round draft pick. He's second year. They did draft a tight end in the 2nd round, Shoemaker. So I mean, Blake Jarwin was undrafted. Dalton Schultz was like a 4th round pick. So there's a situation where Ferguson might be the flavor of 2023, and we still got to look out for the guy that they actually invested a little more draft capital in, was Shoemaker, or Schumacher, depending how you want to say it. So I'd be careful, but for the rest of the season, it definitely is Jake Ferguson for me, just because I know how much Dak likes to throw to the tight ends and the uncertainty there in Arizona.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I guess.
Just saying, don't forget about
No, Jake, please
No,
go.
I was just gonna say I just feel like with the other situations you're talking about, specifically in the tight end room in Dallas, they're more like contract related phasing outs. So like Schultz, for instance, phased out because of contract situation. We're talking about year 2 for Ferguson. I feel like he already won that room, honestly, and he has to do a lot at this point. Specifically, probably drop red zone targets to really fall out of it, which he has,
which he does.
Yeah, but
he hasn't since like week 3. But he did quite a bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's moving in a positive direction, but I do think in comparison to McBride, I definitely would take Ferguson over McBride, which really begs to the question of like what's the value of McBride, I guess, and moving further into it. And we've already talked about on past episodes, but like, a mid-second for Ferguson is what we were talking about. Would you give up a mid to late second for McBride?
I think I would.
I'd buy them both for that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do think kind of listening to Uriah, you might be able to get McBride plus for, I don't know. Like, I guess they're even in value. I was just trying to think if you could maybe swing one and get a plus on the other with those two tight ends, but they're probably even in value.
I don't think so.
Or in console wars, you can pick them up in the waivers because someone drops them, because that makes logical sense.
I don't want to hear it. I still had 1,000 fab.
Wait, and you missed out?
I didn't see him dropped.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
you should have like live alerts. You got to set up some type of like
I don't
API call. Hits you.
As soon as I see those emails, I'm like, entering my bid. Wow, that's crazy, right? And usually you don't even have that budget left. That's insane.
That was the guy. That was the guy.
But dude, what's crazy is this is the second year something like that happened. Dalton Schultz was dropped last year by somebody, and people don't value tight ends. And again, this is just what I was talking about before. They get sick of him. They're like, no, he's not going to do anything. And here we are. So you just can't do that. Do not do that. Always shop them though. All you had to do was hit the chat. Who wants McBride? Come get him. And you'd have an asset for him.
They're like pineapples. I don't know if you're aware, when you grow a pineapple, you can't just plant a pineapple seed and have a pineapple later on in the year. You have a pineapple plant, right? And then it grows for a year and it grows for another year. And then after about 5 years, you get one pineapple. That's kind of what tight ends are. You got to just put them in there, let them grow, just be patient. And then after a couple of years, you have a nice succulent pineapple.
It's a great analogy. That's well done.
Thanks. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just trying to educate people. So.
Okay. All right. So let's speed through this.
Cool.
McBride or Tyler Lockett?
McBride.
Or Treylon Burks?
McBride over Treylon. I think if I'm competing, I'm going Lockett over McBride.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to take McBride over Treylon at this point. But yeah, the Lockett one's a little tougher. It definitely depends on if you're competing or not. But if I have depth, I'll try to swing something like that. Maybe you can get McBride plus because Lockett is a wide receiver. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, KTC has Ramondre Stevenson or McBride.
McBride.
That's tough.
No. Wait,
yeah,
you tell me
you gotta stick with Ramondre, right?
You got Ferguson over Ramondre too. Like, I think that they're pretty equal. And I gotta go Ramondre over McBride personally.
That's fine. That's why we're all here.
Yeah. That's why we can send these offers, man. Like, if you got Ramondre on your team and I got McBride, I'm sending them right away.
I would probably do that. Yeah.
Good.
I love it. All right, Luke Musgrave or McBride?
McBride.
Easily. It's pretty easy. Now, this is a tough one.
Yeah.
Pat Freiermuth or McBride?
Freiermuth.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm with you guys. And we talked about this in an early 25 second. Okay.
Yeah. 25. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd send that thing in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even know I had it. Did I have that early second? I don't even know. All right. So we talked about Tony Pollard a little bit, but we didn't talk about his value in terms of dynasty. So let's just jump into that real quick. Tony Pollard or Cooper Kupp?
Kupp.
Yeah, I think I got to do that, especially if you're competing, man. You got. I mean, it sucks with Matthew Stafford out, but man, I think he could even give you value next year.
All right, this is about me real quick. Kelsey or Kupp? 2.0 tight end premium.
Kelsey.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kelsey.
cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Move on. Yeah.
Drake London or Tony Pollard?
London.
London.
That one's easy for me. I mean, do we really even need to do this next one? Puka or Tony Pollard? Like, what are we doing here?
Hey, I'm just following the rankings.
The DTC rankings?
Yeah, these
that
are
one,
DTC rankings too.
Yeah, that's got to be Puka. I feel like I could speak for the pod.
No, Uriah is for sure going Pollard.
I'm still
What are you
unconvinced.
doing? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna have to see it done with Brett Ripien, aren't you? You're gonna have to see Brett Ripien send 10 targets Puka's way, and then you're gonna be like, okay, he's QB proof. Like,
okay, fine. Yeah.
I'll send two first. All right.
This is a good one. DeAndre Swift or Tony Pollard?
Swift.
I think so too. Yeah, and I think he has age on his side. He has the team on his side, everything on his side. So yeah, that one's. I think I was. I mean, I'll say it. I was wrong on Swift this offseason. I sold him for I think a pretty good price in the league, an early first, but early first plus I think it was. But I think I could have got more out of him if I held him, and I didn't see all this coming. So yeah, there's that. All right, how about Josh Jacobs or Tony Pollard?
Yep.
Josh Jacobs or Tony Pollard?
Pollard.
I think I'm going Pollard.
I think I'm gonna go Jacobs. I honestly I think Jacobs probably has more of a workhorse role and production going into next year. I think.
I'm just.
And I don't know
more than anything.
Yeah, and I think they'll still feed him 15 touches on the ground and in 5 targets. You know what I mean? Like that's just what he is, and it don't matter where he is. I think that's just who he is. So I think Pollard is not that, and I don't know if anybody's going to trust him after a really down year unless he really pulls it together towards the end of the season here. So maybe I'm wrong on Pollard, but Pollard or a 25 first.
It's a late first. Yeah.
Late first. Yeah.
25?
I'm probably going Pollard.
Yeah, probably the same here.
All right. I can come around for Pollard for a 25 first. Yeah, I'll take Pollard there. And then this is the heat right here. All right, boys. This is the heat.
This is the heat.
Josh Downs or Tony Pollard?
Give me Downs.
But you know what the
I'm
thing
taking
is?
Downs too. But I'm taking.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
Go. Sorry, Jake. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think you can get Downs plus instead of just straight up. So
I'm gonna try that in console wars.
And honestly,
do it.
Definitely do it. I bet you Pollard has a spike week here sometime soon.
It has to happen.
You can capitalize off of that, right? So it's bound to happen. He's not talentless. He's a good player. He's
And Downs just hit the injury report today out of the blue with a knee injury. So if he misses a week or he has a couple of down weeks due to injury, this is the right time to strike on him too. So
yeah, I've really I think this podcast like Josh Downs a good bit during prospect season. And, I let this affect me again. It's very similar to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who gets drafted in the 4th round. I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to, I'll believe the NFL. And then, they come around and they're like actually good, like I thought they were. So, I've talked about this a lot, actually trusting your analysis and believing in yourself a little bit. You got to take those chances. You're not always going to be right. But I have no downs. Like, what is that? I could have got him cheap. I hate that.
Yeah.
Ugh, hate that. Okay, Zach Moss, is he here to stay? Like, I gotta know.
It seems like he's slowly getting faded out. JT's getting a little bit more work, but he hasn't left my lineup in weeks. He's moved out of like my RB2 spot into like my flex spot, but he's still there.
I failed to mention also that he's 11th on the elusive rating list, just behind Jerome Ford, just ahead of Derrick Henry, and he's doing it on the ground. 26 forced tackles on the ground.
Now, who is this though? Like, is it actually Zach Moss? Like, I want to know who's actually inside of his body because this is not the guy we saw in Buffalo.
Good, I can't help it, but he does.
It's a different player. I just don't believe it. But I do believe that coaching does help, and I do think that maybe Buffalo's situation, they haven't produced a decent running back in how long under McDermott?
Years.
Maybe it's a coaching thing. It truly could be.
Maybe it's a scheme thing, but what I think is crazy, and not that this has anything to do with Dynasty necessarily, but he was on the streets this whole time.
Yeah.
And then he gets picked up, and he's a top back right now in terms of fantasy. And he's probably a top back in almost any metric in the league right now. So it's impressive. Like, I don't think all of a sudden we have a guy who is like turned his career around is going to be a workhorse or anything like that. But I want to see like how old he's 25 years old. Okay. he probably worked himself back into the league. Like I don't know if he'll stay with the Colts because they invested so much into JT, but they're gonna need a guy behind him. I don't know
The Giants
the work they're
really need a
giving.
running back.
Zach Moss. I don't know. I'm trying to spin this for my guy Evan Hull. See if maybe it's like a scheme thing. I don't know if it's a Zach Moss thing. Like
we'll see.
Maybe he's looked a lot better than JT has in the same scheme.
I don't know, a lot better. He's looked better at times.
He feels more comfortable, I'll say. I guess.
And they're giving him the goal line touches, which kind of sways things in your mind because JT absolutely could have smashed in one of those touchdowns and you'd be thinking a little different. But okay, in terms of dynasty, like I do think there should be some intrigue around, what Zach Moss can do for you going forward. I don't think he has that much life left in him, but he might have some. Like, would you rather have Zach Moss or Dalvin Cook?
Zach Moss.
Okay, Zach Moss or Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Zach
Moss.
Who just got traded
to Detroit.
Which is, whatever.
I think that actually does add a lot of value to DPJ, honestly. Like, I think that situation, there really is no true wide receiver 2 on that team. I'm not saying that he's capable of that, but the Marvin Jones retirement and no Craig Reynolds, Craig Reynolds isn't particularly great. Sorry, not Craig Reynolds. Josh Reynolds. Yeah, they have too many Reynolds on that team.
They have too.
Yeah, that's their problem. They need to fix that for us, by the way.
One too many mediocre Reynolds. Like, come on, man.
Seriously, it's like the Jets with Breece Hall and Bryce Hall. Like, you can't
come on.
All right. But yeah, I think DPJ actually has some sneaky value here. But I still want Zach Moss.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he might be better than Jameson Williams. So specifically at being a deep threat, at what they want him to do, I think he might be.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, so
it's not crazy.
Didn't he get a football to his face like that?
Oh yeah, right to the dome.
Come on.
Oh yeah, Amari DiMarcado or Zach Moss.
Zach Moss.
And then J.K. Dobbins or Zach Moss.
This one's depressing, honestly. But
I think you got to take Dobbins here and just take the shot on it.
Yeah,
Dobbins is a better running back.
Hope you.
We just haven't seen. God damn it.
Dobbins. As much as we're talking up like Zach Moss is like what he's doing right now. I want the upside. I want upside if I can, right? So if I can, I think you could do this, especially for swing Moss to a competitor who has Dobbins on his IR. I'm sure you could get that done. Yeah, I would probably do that. Do we really got to talk about these other ones? These are Jesus Christ.
I think
take Bigsby or Zach Moss. Okay, fine, we can do that too. But James Conner or Zach Moss?
I think I'll take James Conner.
I'll take Zach Moss.
I'll take James Conner.
Yeah,
I'll take James Conner for sure. Yeah, especially like with Kyler coming back and all that. Like, I mean, who knows if that happens? I don't know why that would be. He did well in this offense anyway, and I think he's better than Zach Moss at this point. I definitely take Tank Bigsby over Zach Moss, though. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Same.
Absolutely nobody in their right mind will send a 24 second anything for Zach Moss. Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
The reason I wanted to incorporate these, honestly, is because first and foremost, I don't know if you noticed, but the overall ranking is 60 players different between DTC and KTC, which puts these players in different brackets altogether.
Yeah,
like it's a completely different dynasty landscape if you look at those two valuations. Well, plus, we just started talking about players that don't even make logical sense on each group, right? Like for KTC, none of us would trade for any of those players. Like Zach Moss would die on that other person's roster instead of us trying to trade, and then on the other side in DTC, like we'd smash accept. So it's like, it really just depends, except for the Dobbins situation. So it really just depends on like where you're looking. And I think that's why this conversation is actually really great when you compare the two together.
I do think it is. And looking at it, you know exactly what it is. Okay. Keep trade cut. There is a bunch of reactionary monsters.
It's
okay.
So fun.
They hop on that site and it asks you which players, and you're like, boop, boop, boop. And then it's like, bro, you picked the wrong one, my guy. Like, come on. All right. You're playing redraft right now, not dynasty. Like that's what just happened. So, I mean, you could see the difference. I think that Zach Moss is a lot closer to the DTC rankings. And I think those are a lot more reflective of actual dynasty value than KTC. KTC is great for taking advantage of the general market who potentially think like that. And yeah, you go ahead and you try to make those deals. You go ahead and you send Zach Moss for every one of those assets, and you see if you can get it done, right? Like Tank Bigsby doing absolutely jack shit. That's a great candidate. Go ahead and send Zach Moss to, again, a contender who is like, I need my points. Like, maybe JT gets hurt and Zach Moss is a stud rest of the season. So yeah, definitely. I'm glad we mentioned that because that's definitely worth noting.
All right, moving on. QJ, my guy, still my guy. He actually did something. I think he had 6 targets, 5 receptions, and had some
50-ish yards.
Yeah, 50 yards.
Some yak ability there. So, question here was Quentin Johnson or Gabe Davis straight up? I'm still going with Quentin Johnson.
This was also going around the Twitter world with I think it was Bean Counter and Jax Falcone. I think I've been fighting about this for 4 days straight. I thought it was interesting though. The idea that Gabe Davis, his 12.9 points per game isn't really going to make a difference on your team, and you should be shooting for upside. And QJ is that upside. So I thought it was an interesting conversation.
I agree.
QJ probably the right answer. QJ is probably
it's
the right
because
answer.
you know what Gabe Davis is, and he's fine. But we don't know what QJ could be. So I know it's late in the season, and we wanted to see a lot more from him. And here I know you guys are smiling at me because I'm still
no.
I'm enjoying your fire analysis, bro.
We still don't know. QJ could absolutely hit, and if QJ is 90% of what he could be as a prospect,
Kevin White,
it miles ahead of what Gabe Davis could do. So.
Yo, Jake hit him with the Kevin White. Oh my goodness.
Stop.
I'm sorry. No, but in all seriousness, I hear that argument, and I also hear the argument of the Gabe Davis truthers finally coming out saying, hey, he's actually finally getting schemed properly into the offense. Look at his production and look at it improving. I could see it both ways. The dude was basically just a fly guy for the last 2 seasons, and basically had no real fantasy upside. He was a flyer every couple of weeks for you if you had him on your team and you couldn't consistently start him. He's turning into a consistent starter right now. And I do think that his value is definitely on the up and up. If you're a QJ believer, by all means, this might be the right time that you could get someone like that for a Gabe Davis. But I think that by the end of the season, you could probably get a first out of Gabe Davis, to be honest.
We'll see.
What I will say, and I mean, that's possible. What I will say is Gabe Davis is a free agent this year, and he might play himself into a pretty big contract that Buffalo is not willing to give to their wide receiver too. You've seen, guys who's the guy that Shakur busting out a little bit, Dalton Kincaid making some waves. So they could choose to move on from him, and Gabe Davis not in this offense. I don't know if I want that. Right now, I do want Gabe Davis over Quentin Johnson this year for sure. Second half of the year, I'll take Gabe Davis. I'm fine with that. I think he'll be just fine. He's going to give you good enough boom games, and I think if your roster is solid enough, then you don't care about when he gets those 2 points or whatever it is. But I do hear the argument. I do think in Dynasty you can potentially move Gabe Davis between now and the end of season for QJ plus. I think that's possible. Not much, especially if QJ doesn't come around, and that might be worth it. I definitely see the argument to do that.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
I'm not saying he's the same player, but his situation reminds me a lot of Christian Kirk's breakout right before he left Arizona, and everyone was questioning the contract deal that he got in Jacksonville after a not so great year from Trevor Lawrence. And, no one really thought that highly of Christian Kirk's situation coming into Jacksonville. Dude was a stud. He still looks pretty good this year. I'm not saying that I by all means, Gabe Davis, I don't think has long-term dynasty value, but I do think that there's a situation where his value continues to increase and you might be able to get something greater than QJ. That's all.
I like that. I like that perspective because I've never been a big Gabe Davis guy, and I don't want to become one all of a sudden for the wrong reasons. So I do think that you're breathing some good perspective into the show. Real quick before we move on, AJ's got to know, are we getting the Minshew minute? I think he's all right.
Hey,
Mustache minute?
Gardner Minshew, just watch the film. I say this all the time, but literally when he's in the pocket, the way his feet work, the way he moves up and down, vertically, horizontally in the pocket is something that is really hard for quarterbacks to learn if they don't already have it. You listen to Mike Leach, just Google it, whatever Mike Leach talking about Gardner Minshew, and people are saying, hey, yeah, Minshew, he's got really good footwork. And he's like, yeah, well, duh. Like, have you watched him? Like, that's what he's very, very good at. So that's my Minshew spiel. Maybe he makes bad decisions and he throws picks and whatever, but his footwork is amazing. It's really one of the best in the game. Like, watching him manipulate in the pocket is very, very, very fun to watch for me. No, dude broke his own hand. He took a sledgehammer to his hand to break his hand so he could get one more year of eligibility in college. Dude's built different. Okay,
that's insane. I did not know that. But he certainly does make playing the QB position bad look very good. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
he makes it look.
Him and Taylor Heineke in the same group of quarterbacks. Yeah, he's incredibly entertaining by all means.
I love him
for all the wrong reasons.
And then the stories about him in the locker room with the stretch thing to, like, he's working out, doing it butt naked, just like whatever, like getting his money with this mustache. Like, come on, man. And he's perfect for Jacksonville. Like, those folks down there in Duval County, like, they never should have moved on from Minshew.
No.
You realize he's the new Fitzmagic, right? Like, that's
what I'm talking about. I love Fitzmagic. Jameis Winston, like, those three guys, like, I love watching them play.
The fantasy what ifs.
God, we love the good bad QBs, don't we, man?
I love it.
They're so much fun. Good for
Baker
fantasy.
Mayfield's turning into that. It's fun to watch.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Or fast.
Yeah.
Probably fast.
All right. So I gotta ask this question. We talked about it in the offseason a little bit. I talked about it.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. I talked about this before rookie drafts last year as well. And I want to know if we've come around on AR as the 101. If we're looking back, if we're doing it again, if we do it over, if we do our rookie drafts over again, are we taking, knowing kind of what Arthur Smith is doing to Bijan Robinson, are we taking AR at the 101, given what we've seen from him, the upside that he possesses, and quarterback, obviously in Superflex leagues I'm talking about?
I'm honestly on the fence personally. I actually think that there's a different quarterback that might even sniff that spot, and I think this is going to be a little feisty, but I could definitely see CJ Stroud being that guy who could potentially finish the year as the true 101 coming out of this rookie draft. But for me, the upside from AR, what we were able to see in 3.5 games, whatever the minutes ended up actually being. We're definitely
quarters he played all year.
Yeah, you know. But he truly was very impressive in the limited snaps that we got to see him in. And I do think that where he currently stands, you could get him much cheaper than what you could have going into the season, just because people are asking for close to 3 firsts for him after the rookie draft. So sometimes these injuries are a really great spot for people to get good value on. And I think there's a great time to also shout out the trade that Uriah did in Console Wars to be able to get someone like AR. What was the exact trade that you did, Uriah, for Anthony Richardson?
I paid a good price, but Barkley and Diggs.
No, it's cheap. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So real quick, I'm actually looking something up for this conversation, but what I asked was, have we come around on AR as the 101 if we're going back and we're redoing rookie drafts right now over Bijan Robinson? Jake was dial on right now, spitting some hot fire, saying that he thinks Stroud could even push for that kind of positioning, given what we've seen with Arthur Smith and Bijan Robinson and the usage. But, sticking on AR, do you think that going back, you would still take Bijan 101, or do you think that AR has shown you enough where you'd be like, look, Superflex leagues, got to prioritize the position. He has the upside, doing it.
Okay, well, I mean, y'all could go back and listen 5-6 months ago. My stance was and still is to take the quarterback 101. I understand Bijan is very good, and I've been playing Dynasty forever. Superflex forever, but I've always said that the best quarterback, in your opinion, or was drafted the highest by the NFL, whatever you think you want to put, AR over Stroud over AR, Bryce Young, whatever you felt at the time, I still think that 101 position in Superflex should belong to the quarterback, and I still think that.
Yeah, when you left, I said essentially, like, on this smart man AJ, on this podcast, we were
Yes.
saying this, months ago during rookie draft season. We think that AR might be the guy at 101, and that you don't have to just say it's Bijan or bust no matter what. So I think it's an interesting conversation. This happens every year. The first running back selected in rookie drafts is not always as impressive as we want him to be, whether it's injury related or not. And it's happening again here at Bijan. But that said, real quick, with the Anthony Richardson, I did buy myself a share as well. Our buddy Adrian, I'm in a league with him outside of the DU listener leagues. He's in a couple of those, and
He does all our graphics, right?
did all the graphics. Yeah. So
yeah.
big
Shout out Adrian.
Yeah. Big shout out Adrian. We made a trade where he's competing. He lost AR. He lost Justin Fields. I am absolutely, this is like my worst league. I'm the worst team in the league, and he had my first round pick, and I'm like, all right, bro. I'm like, let me send you Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Waddle and give me Anthony Richardson in my first back. And we got that done.
Oh, you got your first back. Cool.
You got your first
Yes.
back. That's a
Yes.
That's a good deal.
Oh, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's resetting, right? That's how you actually reset.
That's a
right?
literal reset. Yeah. Good.
I like that a lot.
Good for both of you guys.
Yeah. It's a good pull for both of you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Okay, sorry, I thought I'd mention that because I don't think we I sent that over to you guys when you were doing the show. So, okay, real quick before we hop back into some dynasty values, talking about a couple of these players, but are we in or out on Justin Fields? I just mentioned him. We're seeing Tyson Bagent, is that his name?
Yeah, Tyson Bagent.
We're seeing him, whose father is getting so much airtime, by the way, who's like this like arm wrestling champion, whatever. he like legit, like, what the fuck is going on in Chicago? But Bagent looks semi-serviceable. So does this like make you think things about Justin Fields? Like, are we in or out on him? Would you move Justin Fields in a first for AR?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not out on Fields though. Bagent doesn't. I don't care about Bagent. I care about Chicago and how they have just been shitty for a long time. I still think that Justin Fields is a very good quarterback. We saw it before he got injured. He was dialing. He was 2-3 weeks in a row, just turning it around, just like he did last season. Last season, it took like 5 weeks before, like, okay, Justin Fields is here. What I don't trust is the team sticking with Justin Fields and them having going to be very high picks coming in the draft. So I'm worried about what's going to happen with Justin Fields. But it's irregardless of Bagent, in my opinion. But yeah, so no, I'm not out on him. But yeah, I would definitely move him for AR if I could.
Okay, let's get reactionary a little bit. Would you I'm putting a package together here for you. Looking at the rosters. Okay, you have Justin Fields.
Yes.
Are you taking Will Levis a first and a second for Justin Fields?
No. I'm not even thinking about that.
Okay, so we're not out on Fields. Yeah. Okay, so we're not out on Fields. So
no,
we still like Fields enough. Okay.
I'm also not in on Levis. Like I'm not. It's going to take multiple games for that to happen. Like
let's just talk about it. We're here. Will Levis and DeAndre Hopkins dominate the 4-touchdown game. He looked like a monster. Why don't you believe in it, Jake?
I watched the game. Like I watched what he did. Like the stat line's great, dude. But like, throwing off your back foot, looking super athletic and just bombing the ball out, 60, 70 air yards and it landing in a wide receiver one's arms, who is the guy who should be talked about. D-Hop looked like he straight up injected himself with some HGH and was on fire.
Yes.
Like, he looked the fastest I've seen him in years. Like that dude looked incredible. Like that is what we should be talking about, not Will Levis. I just didn't see it. He's athletic. He's a talented dude, but he's not talented enough for the pros. We know that. He was intentionally benched at the very beginning behind Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill. The only reason he's starting right now is due to circumstance, not because of skill. And he performed well. Like I shout him out, dude. Like that's awesome. I'm so happy for him. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know. I was already checking his stat line earlier. He was 3 for 5 for 12 yards in the first quarter. I don't think it's gotten much better since then.
Yeah. Will Levis completed 19 passes last week. 4 of them were touchdowns. We're all
I do that in Madden.
Fairly smart human beings here, but when you do the completion to touchdown percentage, that shit is not gonna happen every week.
It's not sustainable, that's for sure.
Not at all. I mean, obviously, I'd love to have a quarterback that scores 4 touchdowns every week. Will Levis isn't going to do it. Can he do 2? Can he be okay? We don't know. We're going to see, and that's the fun thing about this is that we get to see what Will Levis will be. But right now, I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to make any moves for him.
All right, I'm a little more intrigued than you guys are. That's interesting.
That's fine.
I
Hey,
definitely
this
don't. Yo, what you're at?
I don't want to bring it up. No.
What? Oh, what? Because the whole Jalen Hurts thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
like
want to. I'll keep my mouth shut for now.
Yeah, I'm not there with Will Levis. I was
already messed this up
Jalen
once.
Hurts. Yeah, no, I was super on Jalen Hurts. If I saw that, I'd be telling you, and we'd be making moves. But that's not necessarily what I see. But I thought he was better than he had been previous, in previous game time. I don't think he was amazing. I think he was solid. I do think he was okay on the other 14, 15 completions it was.
Sure.
I do think he looked okay. There were some that were off target behind the receiver. I saw a couple of those. It wasn't perfect, but I did think it was impressive. The Nick Ikena Westbrook one, is that his name?
Yep.
Westbrook Ikena. I don't know. One of those things.
No, you did it.
That one was super impressive. He rolls out to his right, stops on a dime and just flips the thing out, and it goes like 70 yards into the guy's hands, like across the field too. It wasn't down his sideline. It was across sidelines. Like that throw probably had like an extra 15 yards on it just because of that, and it made it there without any problem. Like the kid has all the arm talent in the world. I mean, he was throwing some that were like punts, right? They were like a million miles in the air, and just
the Russell Wilson boom ball, yeah.
Yeah, that one to DeAndre Hopkins where he fought the defender off and was OPI or whatever was definitely a bad throw that D Hop made into something else. He made something out of nothing there. But okay, we're real quick before we hop into what Jake put together here in the DTC rankings, the KTC rankings. They're playing a game right now.
Yes.
Would you take Kenny Pickett or Will Levis?
Fuck that.
This is an easy one for me.
Excuse my language. I'll take Will Levis.
I'll take Pickett.
Yep, I'll take Will Levis. It's all upside here. I've seen enough from Kenny Pickett to know that he's kind of just average. Like I just
trust the team more.
I don't know. I don't have like distrust in Mike Vrabel led teams. Like
I was gonna say, Mike Vrabel gives me a lot of confidence. Actually, if anything, he's the reason why I would believe in Will Levis in this situation.
Yeah,
I'll see myself out.
They're always competitive. He's a player's coach. He's a guy who I think can get you motivated. And I don't know if anybody saw the videos last week of like the sideline mic'd up Tennessee guys where they were like, I told you this Will, man, he can play. Yada yada. Like they were hyping. They believe in the kid. So there's something to that too. Okay, Will Levis or Josh Downs?
Levis.
Downs.
Oh,
Levis. He was the quarterback.
I will say I read that as Dobbs in my head, so I'll take Downs. Yeah.
Yes, I would take Will Levis over Dobbs too. Okay, this is a good one. Stafford injured. He's probably not going to be around that much longer. Will Levis or Matt Stafford?
Stafford.
Yeah. All right, I'll take Stafford too. Reluctantly. I'm like fighting off this Will Levis love that's like bubbling up inside of me. Joe Mixon or Will Levis?
Levis.
Yeah, I'm going to do that too. But I bet you – well, not anymore. I wonder if he has a bad game here, you could probably move Mixon for Levis plus. Christian Watson or Will Levis?
Levis.
Yeah. I'm surprised you guys said Levis, but yeah,
I'm pretty out on Christian Watson. To be honest,
I've
always been out on him, but now that Uriah has him on his console wars team, I know he's fucked. So
I don't know why I did that.
Oh my goodness!
I got myself in a situation there. I'm digging myself out.
Oh my goodness, we're getting crazy with the KTC rankings now. All right, Sam Howell or Will Levis?
Levis.
Yeah, me too.
I'm out on Sam Howell altogether.
Yeah, always have been.
Yep.
David Montgomery or Will Levis?
Maybe Montgomery.
Yeah, I'll probably go with
I
Montgomery.
think it depends on my team build. I think if I'm tanking or if I know I'm a middling team, I'm getting out of Monty as soon as I can. And
yeah, that makes sense.
I think Will Levis could even get you Will Levis plus for Monty, to be honest. So
I think so too. And I don't know if that's a move you have to make right now. Especially if you have Monty, you could wait for sure till he gets back, see how that goes. I don't know. There's something there. Last one, Calvin Ridley or Will Levis?
Calvin Ridley.
Ridley.
Yeah. Just take the guy. Just take the guy, you know.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, we have D Hop here too from KTC. DeAndre Hopkins or a mid 25 second?
If you're trading for D Hop, you're trying to compete. So D Hop.
I agree. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Najee Harris or D Hop?
Najee.
That's interesting.
Najee.
I'm going to take Najee. Yeah. Sutton or D Hop? That's pretty easy, I think.
It's easy.
If you're competing and that's all you care about, like in redraft, you might go Sutton, but like I don't know. I think D Hop has the contract here for a couple years.
Yep.
He's definitely the more stable asset. Okay, this one's fun. DeAndre Hopkins or Rashid Shaheed?
D Hop
who had 153 yards this week.
3 receptions
on 3 catches.
Did you guys see that?
Sustainable, with, super sustainable.
Derek Carr, and he's talking with the coach, and Shaheed is right behind him, and you see Derek Carr says, Rashid, just run. Rashid, just run. And then next play, Rashid just takes off, and Derek Carr hits him for like a 60-yard ball. Like,
I think that's all Derek Carr can say. Isn't that what he said when he was screaming at Chris Olave?
Gotta run! Just run. Like,
oh my God, he was throwing such a temper tantrum out there, man. Yeah, God, he looks so bad.
But probably still D Hop. But I do love seeing Shaheed catch the ball. I don't know. Number 20 was it 22, right? 22 on a wide receiver, just like out there, just like
it looks funky as hell.
Ghosting dudes. I'm like, there's my boy. It looks like a running back, it's the number. But
the way he runs too, I love his stride. Like it's it's a lot of fun to look at.
I'm a Shaheed fan. I'm not going to get him on any of my teams, but I just have to see him score.
Honestly, like I would probably take Shaheed plus for DeAndre Hopkins. Like if I could get like a little plus on it, I think I would do that, and I think you can do that. And I think the logic there is, D Hop's unlikely to take any steps forward, probably more likely to take steps back. And Michael Thomas, not long for the league in general. Shaheed could end up being more involved going forward if they get a better quarterback in there going forward. Like just things could get better for Shaheed, and it's kind of the Jameson Williams argument, but not for like the rookie thing. Just like he has more ceiling, I think, going forward potentially than DeAndre Hopkins does. So if you're not competing, like I think I would make a move like that. Okay. Gibbs has arrived. How do we see like this is the big question. Like I think a lot of people watched what he did the other night, which was very impressive both in the receiving and the running game. And then they're like, well, that's it for David Montgomery. Like he's taken over.
No.
I don't see it that way. Like I don't know. I guess how do you guys see it?
Well, I think
wins talk at the end of the day too, right? So like when David Montgomery was healthy, it wasn't like it had any negative impact on how the team was performing. Like obviously we're seeing positive strides in the way that Gibbs is being used, but I just don't see that extreme breakdown of, Monty finishing with 25 to 30 touches a game really going away. If anything, I think it has stronger impact on the passing game than it does on Gibbs necessarily.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Impact on Laporta and stuff like that going forward in terms of targets, short targets and stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you there.
No, you're good. I agree with that. I just think once Monty's healthy, it'll kind of go back to what was going on, first couple of weeks of the season. With Gibbs getting a little more action now that they have a little more faith in him, but we're not going to see weeks like this out of Gibbs every week, obviously.
That's actually interesting. I do think a lot. Like I was editing the factory tour this week, and they were talking about like buying Gibbs high, which is fine. Like you can totally buy Gibbs high, but I think everybody I know Paul and I'm pretty sure Ben, I think both of them think that he's just taking over at this point. If you're somebody who doesn't think that, then there's opportunity to buy a little bit lower going forward. So I don't think you need to run out there and buy high. You can always buy high on him, right? He's a top 5 dynasty running back. Like that's what he's been. You know, he took a dip. He's back there now. He can take a dip again. So I think there could be some opportunity over the next couple weeks here to buy again once Monty comes back. Okay, this is fun. This is the first like really fun one I feel like we've had in terms of like really good players being the options, right? Like the other ones are like, would you take this shitty guy or this shitty guy? Okay, so
I did some great work this week. Yeah, you're welcome.
No.
You did great.
No,
Yeah,
it's not
I'm
you.
messing.
Don't blame
I'm
yourself.
messing,
It's a
I'm
product of the sheet in the NFL. Okay, so Jahmyr Gibbs or Kenneth Walker?
Gibbs.
Walker.
This is so tough. Yeah, I think I'll take Gibbs. Yeah, that's really hard, but I think I'll take Gibbs. It's very close. Devon A-Chain or Jahmyr Gibbs?
Gibbs.
I think a lot of people are taking A-Chain, and I'm going to take Gibbs. I think long term he's the more I don't know what the word is, but I just think he gets more volume overall in his career.
I think there's more in general. Scheme dependent stuff because we see Mossert, we see Jeff Wilson,
100% exactly.
Calvin Oddbed, right? Yep. You know the dude there, McDaniel. He's a quarterback whisperer. He's amazing at what he does with the running backs there, and so is it A-Chain is good, or is it the other thing? I'm gonna go with Gibbs.
You said A-Chain, right, Jake? Okay.
No, I said Gibbs.
I'm sorry, you said Gibbs. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Chris Olave or Jahmyr Gibbs?
Olave. Olave is just he's going to be in the league longer. He's going to get a second contract. Gibbs is going to be
scarcity, youth,
all that. Olave is going to be here for a while. He's so good.
You could probably flip Gibbs for more if you had Olave and you traded for Gibbs, then you could probably give up Gibbs for more personally. But I think I'm in the same conservative boat as Uriah. If I'm trying to build my team out, I'd rather have stacked wide receivers than running backs.
Yeah, I'm really stuck on this one. I'd probably go Gibbs, honestly. Yeah, that's tough. I'd probably go Gibbs, but it's very close, obviously. Any side, if you can get plus on, I'd probably take that side.
Yeah.
JT or Gibbs?
JT.
Yes. Buy your years back. Buy your years. Oh, wait. No, JT? No, I think I'm going Gibbs. I'm buying my years back. And I'm gonna sell JT, knowing that I probably have more years and the guaranteed receiving workload there going forward once David Montgomery is no longer. So that's tough, though.
That is fair.
Okay, KTC, we're getting crazy with it.
I know.
Etienne or Gibbs? This is a good one because I traded Etienne for Gibbs. I think I got a little plus on it type thing back in rookie season. But who would you take now, Etienne or Gibbs?
Etienne for the year.
Etienne.
I think I'd take Etienne in Dynasty. It's close. They're like the same player, really, but they just seem to give Etienne more touches. So, okay, wow. Mark Andrews or Jahmyr Gibbs? This is easy for me.
Andrews.
Yes.
Mandrews, without question.
Yeah. Assuming it's TEP, obviously. If you're playing,
you're
playing
regular.
Yeah. But if you're playing regular,
who plays?
Don't listen to this pod.
Thursday Night Football. We got a Derrick Henry touchdown. Titans taking the lead.
I've been trying to sell him. Nobody wants him. I don't get it.
This is the time.
Yeah, this might be the week. All right. Puka or Jahmyr Gibbs?
Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs. 24 early first or Jahmyr Gibbs?
So whenever they say early, they mean 101 or 102, I believe. If I read their grouping.
So let's just say 102. Let's say 102 for Jahmyr Gibbs. So it'd be like Marvin Harrison Jones or quarterback.
Not a question. Yeah. Give me the first.
I'll take the first.
Yeah. Take the first.
I would take Marvin Harrison Jones potentially over my Junior over my Marvin Harrison Jr.
Drake
May, the Jones family.
Over my newborn child.
Caleb Williams. Yeah, any of those. If it's 104 or earlier, it's not even a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, cool. That was our what we've learned. What stood out? Got one more thing before we hop into Dynasty trades. We were chopping it up in Console Wars League chat a week or two ago. we have some strong minds in there. There's 36 people, so more opportunity for maniacs to show their faces. And boy, did one. It's not the first time, but I wanted to know, this is what happened. So somebody didn't like the fact that they were trying to sell Travis Kelce and nobody wanted to give them like uber value for him. So they came into the chat and were like bitching essentially about like, nobody wanting to give that value and that he has X value and what is wrong with you people, essentially. This is just terrible, terrible trade etiquette. And honestly, it's not even more so that's like, it's annoying for, it wasn't even annoying. It was funny because everybody piled on him, but it's not even more so that it's like a jackass thing to do, but it's like, nobody's going to buy him from you now, dude. Like that's not going to help your situation whatsoever. And like, if anything, everybody just knows that nobody's paying up for him. So they're just going to wait until you give in. So like, it's just the craziest tactic to try to impact your league mates to do something you want them to do. I don't know. It was so strange.
Yeah. So since it's a 3-copy league, if I wanted to actually go out and get Kelce in this league, I would approach the other 2 owners first after that.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like I would do it to spite him. Like if I needed a tight end, like I would literally be searching and being like, I'll just give you less value than whatever he's like.
But on the other hand, I will say, like I've been in another league with Scottish Nitros.
Dan Morrison.
And somebody's looking for a tight end, and I said I would be willing to move Kelce. I don't need to. I don't want to. I'm actually playing the guy who's looking for him. Mm-hmm. But he's sending me these ridiculous offers, which like they make sense to him, and the value adds up. They're like 3-for-1s, 2-for-1s, whatever. But like Kelce is such a cheat code at tight end right now, so like I can understand the frustration of a Kelce owner trying to get off of Kelce mm-hmm. because he is so damn valuable for a team this year that you want to get that value back. Like I understand the frustration. I'm mm-hmm. not going to go into the league chat and cry about it.
Also, league format and context, I think, is really important too. And I think in this situation, it just screamed, I don't know my own league that I'm complaining about in, because, the dude's asking for multiple firsts, which can only be gained by trading away relatively top end assets, because you only get 1 future year's worth of first, right? So, or for worth of draft picks. So in this situation, you're crying out for multiple firsts, but realistically, it's only tanking teams that have multiple firsts. There were a couple of teams
good point
that did have multiple firsts, but he's sending out, like he said, something along the lines of 20 plus different teams he was sending out trades to. The reality is there's maybe 1 or 2 of those teams that fit in the grouping of teams that need or can work with Travis Kelce. I was one of the teams that he sent a trade to, and like, dude, like I've got the lowest PP in the entire league. Like I am going to tank. Like there is no chance I'm not going to tank at this point. Like if I don't get the 101, I will cry. And so you trying to trade me anything at this point is asinine. So
any points.
Yeah, like keep them away from my team. I am picking up players that will score negative points at this point if I can. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like to go into a league chat and just like not understanding the league is just kind of asinine to me. But sorry, Billy, you're about to say something.
No. I'm glad you chimed in. The last thing I'll say, and that may be actionable, but I talked about this with Uriah, and I was saying it in one of the league chats. It's like you can't get discouraged by rejections. Like you can't get discouraged by and make yourself so frustrated to the point that you let everybody know that you can't get deals done. That's the worst thing you could do, bro. Nobody knew you couldn't get deals done except for the people that were rejecting the trades. So it's like now everybody knows that nobody's making a move. So why am I going to force a move with you? Like I'll just go to the other manager because like I said, there's multi copies. But even if this was a 12-team league, I just would find another target, bro. Like forget it. Like I'm not going to give in. Like it's not going to happen when you're telling me that nobody's buying him. So I'm just going to let your roster suffer. It's really bad tactically and psychologically. Like he lost, you know what I mean? Like you've lost the game now. You've really just, you've just kind of, you've given all the information to all the other managers. And in Dynasty trading, one of the biggest things that you can have on your side is, in my opinion, is information. What people know, knowing what you want to do, what you're trying to do. The smartest managers find that stuff out. They talk to each manager. Hey, like, what are you trying to do? Is this work for you? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just not really working smart, it's working really hard and wrong. So I thought it was worth talking about. Biggest thing is just, you really can't get discouraged by rejections. I've been rejected so many times and just keep pushing. And eventually it pulls through. Somebody gets desperate enough, you know.
That's how me and Jake ended up with our significant others. Persistence.
I also have a restraining order. It's pretty insane.
She sleeps in the other room.
Oh my goodness.
Engaged
We're off the rails.
Let's hop into
we need
some
to get out of here. Oh,
trades and
my goodness.
untrades. We'll run through these real quick and get out of here. This has been a very fun episode. A little bit longer than we usually go, but you know, Billy's back. Jake's here. It's been fun. So trades and untrades. I'll start here with a couple. They're non-trades, but just kind of seeing how you guys are feeling about how I'm feeling about trying to get off on some guys. So I sent off an offer for Derrick Henry, Gus Edwards, Christian Watson, and I tried to get Trey McBride and Flowers. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I would love to get McBride and Flowers off that trade. I think surface level, it looks pretty good on both sides, honestly. But I can definitely see how Flowers and McBride owners want more.
Yeah. So just a little bit of context. All the offers I sent were for everybody who was like, you know, 6-2 or 5-3, you know, competing, right? I wasn't sending these offers to people who were noticeably taking. They were either second in the division, third in the division. So a little bit of context there, I guess. But yeah, Henry, Gus, Watson, McBride, Flowers. That was what I was trying to get done.
Yeah, I mean, I love the thought. I could see it getting done. You have a couple chances to get it done in that league, so absolutely worth sending that. I totally would take the McBride's Flower side, but I like that. It's a good way to get that done.
And then another one was another guy was, I think he was third in his division, and he was kind of running back weak. And he happened to have a third. That third's going to be a little bit late. I don't even really kind of want the third, but I kind of want to get these points off my team right now, kind of considering where I am win-loss record right now, but points for is kind of a sketchy situation for me right now because my roster is full of people who are scoring points, not a lot of points, but they're all scoring points. So I sent Gus Edwards for a third, and it got rejected also.
I think it's tough because in that same league, someone openly stated that the price of Gus Edwards is a fourth. So
I saw that. Yeah.
I think that's the problem. That is the problem with 3 copy leagues. Like if someone's openly is like, oh, I'll sell Edwards for a fourth, and it undercut me. I was trying to sell Royce Freeman for a fourth. So when people are like, oh, Edwards is a fourth, I'm definitely not going to buy Royce Freeman from you.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough. So I think that's kind of your biggest issue right now in that market specifically. But if I could get a third for Gus, I would.
All right, then the next one I did was again, you can see a pattern here: Henry, Gus, Christian
Gus,
Watson.
get off my team, man.
Yeah, you know, Henry, Gus, Christian Watson, and Taysom Hill, who I know they're not like sexy. These are not guys who are like rebuilding, right? These are guys who are competing that I'm sending these offers to. For Olave, who's doing stuff, QJ who hasn't done anything in a third. So Henry, Gus, Watson, Hill for Olave, QJ in a third.
I mean, you would be a thief if you could get that done.
I tried.
I mean, honestly,
to be honest,
I would send all of that for Olave straight and see if you could get that done. Like, I wouldn't even add the other pieces. Like, and that actually might get done because they're competing and Olave's not doing shit. And Henry's actually a point scoring machine. So
I'm being too stingy.
You're just being a little too aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, which is not bad. Like, if it gets accepted, like, good on you. You sent the offer. You know what I mean? But you know, it's just.
Did they respond?
Nature.
Yeah, he said he wasn't. It's actually shout out Matty J. Shout out. He said he wasn't given up on QJ yet, which I understand.
Oh well, if that was his response, then yeah, I'm kind of with Billy. Drop QJ and see if you can still get the deal done.
Yeah. 100%. And he's competing. I know that. It seems pretty good.
He is. That's why, like, I mean, all these other players I sent him, they're scoring points. So,
before I jump into this next one, I literally just got an offer from the same guy in Console Wars who's been trying to send Kelsey. And you can imagine it's such a great offer. He wants to send me DeAndre Hopkins for my 24 first.
Wild.
I literally was like, bro, hell no.
That's the same guy who undercut me with Royce Freeman saying Gus is worth a fourth. Like, no shit, he was able to sell Gus for a fourth. I think anyone would buy that for that price. It's crazy.
For sure.
Like his valuation is just so far off on both sides. It's just nuts.
Like when he said that, I'm like, so you could just get Gus, you could sell him for more. Like, what? I don't know, whatever. So yeah, I just rejected the shit out of that. All right, here's an interesting one that I got different feedback on from DFF side, from Underdog, from Dynasty Underdog Discord, everybody. So Calvin Ridley, Rashid Shaheed for David Montgomery, Josh Dobbs, and Jaron Hall. And there is some context I think worth stating here. The team moving Ridley has a slew of wide receivers. The team getting Montgomery has no running backs to really mention. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's like Aaron Jones and James Conner on IR. And then Justin Fields hurt, Jimmy G benched, and Russ on bye. So no quarterback this week, and just kind of a fragile QB room. So, I moved the Ridley side. Just what are your thoughts on this? I know I kind of got them from you already, but for the people.
Ridley Shaheed.
Yeah. Ridley Shaheed for me as well. I just, I don't know. That quarterback side honestly doesn't even have any value for me.
No.
You get some value.
Josh Dobbs has been pretty solid. Like as a QB2, he's been good.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But that you're talking about an asset that realistically won't start next year.
Yes.
So what's his value come end of this year? It's really Ridley Shaheed for me for Monty, and that just feels too steep.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you're viewing it that way, that makes sense.
Unless you're planning on getting off of Dobbs quickly off of this deal, and if that's the plan, then I could see it. But what is the most you're going to get for Dobbs? A third?
Oh no, I'm not. That's definitely not the plan. I'm first or second in the league, and I just think I need to ensure I have some QB depth for the season. Plus, I think Monty is going to probably score similarly or outscore Ridley rest of season, and I need those points in my running back spot. So that was kind of the idea, knowing that I'm pretty much giving up the value on Dobbs.
Got it. It makes logical sense. I think you can convince me to do it, but I just don't think I would want to do it.
No, that's fair. Yeah, nobody was like super stoked to do it. There were people who were like, yeah, if you need to do that, like just go ahead and do it. And I was like, I feel like I need to do this. And I also, I'm not super encouraged by Ridley. Like the targets are there for sure, but I'm not like, I don't see him as really explosive, especially after the catch right now. So the upside is a little limited with him and Monty on a tear. Gibbs gets injured, right back to, just absolutely crazy numbers. So I just think there's a lot to offer there for my team specifically. That's why context always matters. But sorry, Uriah, we jumped all over you. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I think Jake kind of spoke with it, just because.
Okay.
If you're competing, if the team is absolutely competing and recently lost some quarterbacks, I could see how adding a Dobbs and Montgomery could help you stay above water there. Jaron Hall, we don't even know. He might only play 1 week. We don't know.
He will only play 1 week.
Yeah, I still for the long term, I still think I want Ridley and Shaheed there.
Yeah, I think both of those, Ridley and Montgomery, are assets who are on the way out dynasty wise. So
for sure,
I don't see them too differently value wise, even though obviously Ridley I think carries a little bit more stability. But okay, who's this next one?
This was Joe actually in the Discord. I thought it was an interesting trade, and we had a decent little conversation. Will Levis, Devontae Smith, and Kyle Pitts for Sam Laporta, Nick Chubb, and a 24 first mid to late. It's 2.0 10.
I'll take the Levis side.
Yeah, I remember talking to him about that. Like, I don't hate either side. What I would have liked to see is some quarterback come back to the Laporta Chubb side, and hopefully Chubb comes back and has another year or two that he looks like, the most pure rusher in the league, like he has been for the last 5-6 years. That's a tough one. If you're rebuilding, I could see why he would do that. But I think I still, at the end of the day, I think I still want Levis, Devontae Smith, and Pitts.
Who's the best asset in this trade? Is it Laporta? Or are
It
we
might
saying
be.
Laporta? Is
You might be
Laporta
right.
better than Devontae
I
Smith?
think Laporta is, yeah. And Chubb could be if, he has another couple of years where he's healthy.
He's probably got 1 to 2 max.
He's probably out, so we'll see. And he got another 24 first, and he's rebuilding. So that's very important to a rebuilding team, is to actually get picks, which are hard to get. So
It's really close. Like I'm not sitting here like, wow, like Levis side way over. No, like it's really close. Like if I could get maybe like something, I don't know if it was not Nick Chubb, if there was another asset in there that didn't just have a catastrophic knee injury, I'd probably be a lot more in on that side. But I get being in on that side. Like Laporta could clear Pitts for the rest of their careers easily.
and Pitts is kind of slowly coming around, right? So like it's been a couple of years. He's starting to look like an actual tight end out there. So that's a tough trade to make. But I know he said that it was kind of like a hit one of his quote unquote my guys type of trades, which I completely understand. I love looking at my rosters when it's full of players that like I actually like and want to root for, whether that's good for Dynasty or not. It's good for like my mental health. I'll tell you that. So having a Laporta, if Laporta's your guy, like I get that too, because sometimes playing Dynasty is supposed to be fun too.
So what is that? 9 Cowboys and Trey McBride is your team?
I don't really roster a whole ton of Cowboys.
It's
smart. It's
because
better
that's not as fun. Yeah, it's not as fun as you think it is.
Yeah.
And 0 Eagles. I'll tell you that.
There you go.
That's why
I always pivot. I don't even care.
Yeah.
See, that's why we don't have Jalen Hurts on our team and we aren't winning.
That's probably why.
All right. So speaking of our team, this is our Devi team.
Yes.
We're in need of rebuilding and getting off of some high-end assets that we have, getting rid of these points. What do you think about attacking Justin Jefferson on IR? The team is a top competitor. Pollard, Tyreek Hill, and Branson Robinson, who is, I believe, Georgia running back, but had a pretty bad knee injury for Justin Jefferson.
Feels pretty cheap in my opinion.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I don't think it's going to get done.
Oh, it was sent, but you haven't had like much talk.
Well, it was like
on trades, yeah.
Well, the initial, once I sent it, the person was like, bloody good offer. And then they're like, I want to wait till after the trade deadline. And then I sent it again after the trade deadline, and I think they rejected it. So don't think it's going to get done. I wonder what it would need. Like, what if, okay, remove Branson Robinson and add Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, exactly.
It definitely makes it significantly more appealing, I think, regardless if it's Devi or not. I still probably pick the Jefferson side.
Wow.
Close, even there, like I just feel like unless I'm, I need 2 additional pieces and it will easily lock me in for a championship, because I'm not counting Pollard as a consistent back right now that will help me win a championship right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I could be swayed, but I've also now sat on JJ for close to 3 or 4 weeks, and he should be back within the next 2 weeks. Maybe I say fuck it and just kind of hold.
That's fair. Unless you're in the Debbie League with us, then absolutely.
I'm sending it.
Yeah, let's see. I can see.
I wonder if
truly competing, you're getting Tyreek Hill
sent.
It's gonna get done in the middle of the next trade block.
I don't know. They're in Australia, so they might be asleep.
No, they're awake right now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Literally,
last one.
One of my most searched things. It's 12:40 p.m., bro. Come on.
Oh, it's perfect. Dude's having lunch. Dude's having lunch. I actually just got sent this right before the show started. I would be receiving Pacheco for Roshan and 2/3. One's a 24th third, one's a 25th third.
If I'm competing, I'm taking Pacheco.
See, so that's the thing, and that's why I put team building question marks. This is for pretty much a team that was supposed to compete but didn't end up competing, just due to player performance and injuries. Unfortunately, it's a startup, so the team just wasn't really fully built for a full I'll be completely honest. It's in DU3, so you knew how I drafted. I wanted to go in that year and potentially compete against Tiny Fists, and it didn't work out. So I've pivoted. I traded Devontae Adams in a first for Garrett Wilson. Like, I've done my moves to make sure that the future is set. And this move just doesn't really make sense, I feel like, for what my team is doing. It can add additional points, but I feel like I don't really have any future assets right now. So I'm kind of in this weird position of, do I take Pacheco and try and flip him for more value? Because I feel like I can get more than Roschon in 2/3.
I would probably just keep Roschon in that situation, because you don't know where your team's going to go. Is it going to take a turn for the better? We still have a couple weeks here where you could rattle off 3-4 wins in a row. Roschon, I think, I think will be a little bit more valuable next year. Like, he's still pretty good, and second half of the season, rookies, like, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him coming off the concussion. I wouldn't trade all that for Pacheco. I don't think Pacheco moves the mark for you. I don't think so.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't move the mark for me this year to compete, for sure. It's really just down to Ramondre and Bijan being pretty bang average, and my quarterback situation just being injury on top of injury. So
I don't know. I kind of like that deal for Pacheco. Just kind of thinking it through for the next couple of years. Like, Pacheco's under contract through 26. And he's cheap. Like, they're not going to add a running back. Like, why? He's good. He's good enough, and he's fantasy relevant. Like, he's been really, really solid. It was an offer to you. They sent it to you.
Someone just sent it.
Take a third off it. See if they do it for Roschon in the third.
There you go. Yeah, that's a smart.
Something like that. Like, I think Pacheco is going to score more points than Roschon Johnson for sure next year. Yeah. I don't know how much longer after that, but he's on the Chiefs, and he's there till at least 25, 26. Like, I don't know. I like him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's good advice.
By the way, Kyle Phillips heating up with Will Levis.
I know. I'm trying to kind of pay attention, but
he's on every single waiver right now.
I still have him on a taxi somewhere.
I do too. Hey,
yeah.
I'm not giving up on Phillips. He's been injured for 3 years now.
Yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, we crushed it. We filled the show. We did the
longest episode in the history of Dynasty Underdog, by the way.
Sorry.
No, it's good. Good job.
No. I think we crushed it. The people love it. The people love it.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys have nothing else to add, thanks for listeners for giving us a listen. If you can listen to us on Spotify, that helps us up a little bit more than listening to us on Apple, etc. Follow us on Twitter at Dynasty Underdog, at Uriah Dawkins, at Willie Beeman DFF, and at Jake Abrams. Join our Discord. It's free. It's fun, especially on Sundays. It's way better than scrolling through Twitter. And you could probably find our videos on YouTube once uploaded. And yeah, other than that, have a good night.
Peace out.